Let me at him!
Well, there it is. Hi guys, and welcome to another map review. This one is called Barren Battlefield, and it's a 1 versus 1 map, and it's been sent in to me by the WTii. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Either way, you know who you are because you created the map. And the description for this map is: wrest a piece of land from the Quillbore and wage war on your enemy. The centaur hold valuable items that may turn the tide of battle, and the harpies control the local gold mines. I think you mean wrestle? I think. Feel free to fill in the blanks there. And the author is Johnny Boy. That's his other nick. So the map is huge, which is its first problem. Now, all of this is helpful critique, I hope. I'm not going to be too mean. But that is way too big for a 1 versus 1 map, unless you have jam-packed it with islands and all sorts of crazy funky stuff designed for a very specific purpose. Barren does definitely suit this map. Now, one other thing actually. Default based on map status. Remember, if you watch these videos, if you are creating a map, you need to go to scenario, map description, options, then down to game data set and change it to melee latest patch. Otherwise you basically won't have access to all the tavern heroes. Frostworms will basically have piercing attacks and so forth and so forth. The game will be pretty broken. It won't be balanced, or it'll be less balanced than it currently is these days. So let's begin, shall we? We're going to look at the top left position, because even though the bottom right is actually red, and red is normally player 1, but either way we're going to treat player 1 as blue. Top left, start from left to right, huh? So the starting base has plenty of trees, loads of action going on there if you want to sort of like get a solid base and build up. This map kind of makes me think it's much more about sort of like building up and having big battles in the middle versus your friend or something like that. If you're new to the game and you want to experience a lot of the different units and you don't want to pressure each other too much, I would never play something like that because I'm way too competitive. But if you're ever of that kind of mentality, then maybe this map might suit you. However, the gold mines might be better suited closer to the main base so that you can get more gold to produce those units to have your little fun battles with in the middle. So you might notice that your starting position is here, and right outside your starting position are 2 creep camps. Now, at least the creep camps are of docile nature, where they are set to camp in the target acquisition range, which means they won't aggro unless you build a farm here. But if you build a farm here or here, that won't aggro. And it's the same for the Night Elf. In fact, it's much more specifically better for the Night Elf. So the Night Elf could start off by putting the Ancient of War here. The only difficulty with that is you have to travel over here to get to the trees. So there's a little bit of a counter to doing that. Whereas this side it's slightly easier. I would probably put my tree there or there. And that way you can kill these creeps and then maybe pull with the archer. Get the archer to pull these creeps, pull them back, and then get the tree to eat the tree and then kill these guys as well. So Night Elf can obviously get to a very good start here, as we can see. Now let's have a look at the first creep camp. It is a total of 6 levels, and the big dude, well, I say the big dude, 375 health is not very big, but he's got evasion, so he's going to have a little bit more health than that. You could give him an extra 37.5 health, I suppose, for that argument. Anyway, power-up item, not anything to shout home about, but it's easy enough to do. That creep camp, relatively speaking, considering it's right close to your base. Human could just militia it. Undead could sort of use their ghouls from the graveyard to help boost them, and then get some extra skeletons to go out and sort of venture into the world. And the other creep camp is, well, it's a little bit better. The same level, but a 400 health dude. Not that much more health, but level 1 permanent item, so he'd be much more interested in dying, and that way you can get something for it. So once you've killed those 2 creep camps, if you're going to venture that way, you can avoid these creep camps without aggroing, but you have to be very careful. You have to travel down this path. So if you're going to scout, if you automatically scout with a peon or whatever to this location, you will aggro this creep camp because he will walk like this where my cursor is going. Whereas you will need to manually move your peon down, and then you can let him go loose towards the enemy base. So once you get onto the mainland, so to speak, you've got, let's zoom out, a couple of paths you could take. left or straight on. And if you go left, you get access to your natural gold mine, which is a million miles away. Bear in mind that this is game camera. This is what you will see in the middle of the game. So here's your huntresses, here's your micro. So you would have to essentially move like this to get to this gold mine, which is, needless to say, a long way to go. So this gold mine really needs to be much more like over here, if I was to be realistic and put it like there in the trees and have a creek camp. But I'm not going to change too much around. I'm just going to kind of tell you how I would do it, because obviously I'll be changing the map too much. So your first problem here is your natural gold mine has air units by it. Now, not many races have an actual counter to air units. Only Night Elf really do with archers early on. Otherwise humans would have to get rifles, which are quite expensive to do so, but doable. Undead have to tech to tier 2 to be able to counter air. And Orc, well, they'd have to go troll headhunters and therefore lose the game. So you got this little guy here. He's going to drop a power up item. That makes sense. First of all, level 16 in total. 14 to 16 levels is pretty good for a gold mine. If you want to be a bit more lenient to the player, you'd make it about level 10 to 12 or something. And then the Storm Hag, she's got 600 health, curse and sleep, which is pretty nasty because you must sleep your water elemental and then curse your rest of your range units, so that kind of thing. I mean, human do have water elemental as well, I suppose, but that would just get slept in this case. So level 3 charged item, that's fairly good. Not too bad. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense that it's an air unit that's here. So yeah, you can have any other unit that drops a level 3 charged item, just not an air unit. Otherwise, that's fine. Just get something that powers up these little centaurs or something like that. A centaur Searing Arrow dude or a centaur Bloodlust dude, and just lay off the air. So your other creek camp underneath it looks like it's a shop. Well, that's great because people like shops, and there's one close to your position as well as close to your enemy's position. So this is actually fairly good placement, really, because if you're thinking of attacking or you want to go and defend near your own base, you've got a shop to do so, and same for the other player. So I like the positioning of that. Now this creek camp, here's a total of 13 levels. That's fine. And the one that's going to drop the sexy item only drops a level 2 charged item, which is a little stingy, I would say, for these guys. You could go for level 3 charged item. Otherwise, level 2 permanent item would be pretty acceptable. And if you did that, then maybe you have one of these drop a level 1 power-up item. That kind of thing. And the other creek camp, which, bear in mind that we have got a tavern here, so you can get yourself neutral heroes. And it obviously looks like it needs some filler. Now, I get that the whole essence of this is barren battlefield. So you have this massive barren battlefield in the middle. But it's its own thing. Like, you could always create more pathways, couldn't you? Just by doing things like this. Oh, wow. There's a lot of trees, apparently. You might need to cut down on some of those trees in that starting position if you want to get more trees. But that already diversifies how the game would be played just by doing this. You see what I mean? You kind of implement extra pathways. I'm not really going to have it like this, but you know what I mean. You sort of like, just by doing a few trees here and there, just in between, you give players different ways to angle their positions, their armies, etc., etc. Oh, that Misha music. So the creek camp underneath here is actually really quite cool. I'm not sure how practical it is. I've never seen this in any of the melee maps where you're looking at a very RP looking creep camp. So you've got 12 levels in total. This guy, 550 health, drops a level 2 permanent item. That's perfect, that's fine. That's great. So I just love the RP settlement of this, and the fact that this guy isn't standing right next to these guys. He's kind of on his own, so you could battle him on his own or try to pull him out, but then you've got the ranged guy and the other couple of melee guys that will chase after you. You might be able to trap him around the trees. It's different because you'll never really see this. You'll see this is what you'll see typically, although that would be like over here and there. But by having that like that, that does make things a little bit unique, so I'm okay with that. I mean, that's not hurting anyone as far as I'm concerned. Okay, over here, oh, bear in mind that I think you need to make sure that gold mine creek camps are of normal target acquisition range. So you can't go and do this. Because if you do that, you will aggro. If you do that, you will probably aggro. You would need to build like here to be somewhat safe. So your gold mine areas, they need to have this this distance. So you need the normal acquisition range there. Okay, so moving over to one of the bigger Red Creek camps, which is a total of 25 levels, which is pretty high. The big dude in the middle, Centaur Khan, can resurrect, so he's pretty powerful. Level 5 permanent item is awesome though. I mean, we're talking some real power with that. So you got Ancient Django, Claws of Attack plus 12, Cloak of Flames. You get the idea. Auras, some really good stuff from that. So that's cool. That makes it a little bit more spicy. And you have to kind of go out of your way to get to these guys. You have to go out all the way into the middle and then back on yourself to get to him. Now, one of the more extended gold mines, so to speak, bear in mind you have to go to the middle and then right to the other corner of the map, on this monumentally massive map, there lies a gold mine, which is guarded by some interesting creeps in some bizarre pattern. They will protect the gold mine, again, if you set them to normal fairing. Like, you won't be able to build a gold mine here and not have these guys aggro. But again, I've never really seen this, and I would honestly suggest that you probably don't go too funky with this kind of style, and you would pull these guys over here. They should be standing by the gold mine. They just should. So let's have a look. The total levels are 22, which is pretty powerful, but then again it's like a powerful gold mine, I suppose, because it's really out far and away. You might want to make it like 15,000 gold as well. Since there's not many gold mines on this map, make it a bit more rewarding to get to this gold mine. Even then it doesn't have to be like super high, just 14,000, just a little bit more than the 12,500. So the big dude, level 9, is 1,500 health. He's got a wealth of abilities, and he drops a level 2 charged item. I don't know if that's a troll, but the guy underneath here, the Centaur Khan, he's just as powerful, if not a little bit more powerful, potentially. He drops a level 4 permanent item, so okay, I kind of get that. But I think when you do things like this, it doesn't make sense to have two very powerful creeps and one drops something crap and one drops something powerful. You're better off just focusing on one power creep, and then having, you know, 3 more of those instead of that level 9 lizard. Do you see what I mean? You focus on the power creep. So what does this guy actually drop as well? Level 2 power up item, that's fine. So that creep camp's okay. You can obviously make the changes that I suggest. As for thematics, you got a little bit of detail on the map, but it's not very highly detailed. You've got splodges of sort of like indentations and terrain dots here and there, but the foliage and the, you know, the props are not being very highly utilized in this. Like, there's no cages, there's no demon storms, not that you would put that one in there, but do you see where I'm coming from? Like crates, just things to give the map a little bit of life. Needs a bit more of that. So this crate camp over here, so you got your goblin laboratory, you got your shop, you got your tavern. So it looks good for that, and they are a total of 15. That's very averaged creep size, so that's pretty good. And the creep camp looks cool. Level 3 charged item is a little on the low side. You could get away with level 4 charged item there, I think. And level 3 permanent item if you're being cheeky. But I would probably come and sneakily kill this creep camp if I was a blade master, if I knew that that creep camp could drop those items. So bear that in mind. You might want to put something a little bit more tougher than him, and then a couple of like more caster type orientated units. So this guy drops level 1 power up item, that's fine. And then that's essentially it. The rest of the map is symmetrical for the other player. So you're looking at a very, very barren wasteland. I like the rock formations here to some degree, but obviously very basic. I highly suggest you go check out Hive Workshop and see what other like highly rated maps have, because they will detail out in images for viewers wanting to sort of understand better how to sort of like decorate the map. Because it comes to decoration, you've got a few decorations here. You give the creep camps a little bit of life, and I like that, but the rest of the map is very, very empty, which again, I don't know if you're trying to get away with it just with the name Barren, but I don't think that's going to fly all the way. So here we go. This is interesting. You don't often get to see a pathway where you can't go down, and most of the time that's tackled by just putting a river there instead. But I'm okay with that in this case. It's not going to kill me. So, yeah. What you basically need to do is not cut this map in half, but cut this map by a third, basically. There's no reason for this map to be as big as it is, other than it just being a testing battleground for you and your friend. The nearby expansion needs to be way closer, as mentioned, and just have more paths in general. It can still be barren, but just give players more options in terms of the directions that they take. An orc would love this map, I'm telling you. Once they get out onto the field, they're going to have a field day, because you can't run or hide or position yourself very well versus orc players, and they're just going to tear you to pieces. Unless you have mass shims, and then the orc doesn't have any counter to air, but I digress. These are all sort of minor details that could play out inside of the game. So there you go. That's Barren Battlefield. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and hopefully some of these tips were useful. I would suggest a lot more green camps, and obviously the creek camps here, bear in mind that it's almost somewhat of a counter to enemies tower rushing you. Not that they would aggro onto the towers, but they would aggro onto the towers once the towers start attacking, and that would make your tower rush even harder to do. But then again, you've got to go over to a bridge to do it, so it's really difficult. But a real sneaky player, if they've managed to get away with it, tower here and dominate and control the bridge. I don't think you should ever have one exit out of your base. There should be two exits. Worst case scenario, you just have another one of these. I know it's not positioned the right way, but you get the idea. It's positioned here. There you go, the crates of the bridge. And you would have like some sort of exit plan. So there's an alternative way to get to your base, and you can have a little creek camp here. And therefore you can get to the expansion. So there's two ways to get into your base. That kind of thing. Open things up. Just give more pathways, give more options. People love that. Alright then. Take care, guys. I'll see you later.